best day ever right there. Wait a minute. Can you see that? Is that upside down? I can't tell.
No,
no, you can read it.
So Robin and Ashley, it's nice to meet you both.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
Where are you both located?
You can go first.
I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, or McFarland. I live in a suburb of Madison.
And
okay.
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, you're in Nashville. My cousins were just in Nashville like 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
My one cousin was turning 21 and went with.
Yep.
Yeah, apparently they had a really good time.
Nashville's a really fun place for like turning 21, or like bachelorette parties are really popular here, but it's cool. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff is opening back up. So I bet they had some. I mean, did they stick to Broadway?
Yeah, I asked them, and I felt bad asking. I was like, "Did you go to the Grand Ole Opry?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, 21 years old. You're probably just going to be partying all day, all night, which they did. So yeah, they stuck to Broadway. They went to, what's the name of that? They were showing me pictures. The one bar was, I've been to Nashville probably 3 or 4 times. I'd never been to this place. It was like not a school bus, but it was like there was a bus on top of the. I had never seen it before.
It's a bar and it's downtown?
So yeah, it's a bar, but then you go to the rooftop, and on the rooftop is like a gutted bus, I guess, and they have some. I'd never seen it either. They turned it into like a converted bar area, and I don't have a picture I'd show you, but I'd never seen that.
Is it? Wait, that's not correct. 1 second. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm looking for it. I'll find it because that's gonna bother me.
I know, and it bothered me too, because I mean I've been sober the last 2 times I've been there, and I'm like, I would have remembered that. I can't believe I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I'm trying to Google it right now. Bobby Hotel?
I'm trying to make my face not such a tomato. Here we go. But then my eyes are black.
What do you mean? Your face is great.
That's what I said.
So?
I said, I don't think it looks that red as you think.
I look so red on my own screen.
No, I mean, I think it looks like it. Did you find it?
Yeah, sorry. It's Bobby Hotel.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
I didn't either. Oh, so it's a hotel, and then it's a bar at the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. That's a lot happening in Nashville. There'll be like a bar, and then on top, or a hotel, and then on top they have like a restaurant bar.
Okay.
So that's cool. You just I'm gonna put that on my list because I've never seen that. And I'm sure, did they go to White Limousine? That's like it's a Dolly Parton inspired. Ooh. But it's very, you would love it, Robin, then, because it's Dolly Parton inspired. It's like everything's pink on the top of this bar, but it's so, if you're into Instagram, it's like the most Instagrammable, cute little restaurant ever.
You know what? They had to have gone there because my one cousin, who is the 21-year-old sister, they were telling me about this place, and their dad was saying it was like all 21 to 28-year-old girls in there, and that must have been what it was. Yeah, that's definitely what it was.
It's every girl ever goes there, and it's so, the whole top of this bar is pink, and it's really cute. What's
it called? White Limousine?
White Limousine, and it's spelled Limozen. But I'm trying to find pictures of it. It's very cute. Yeah, it's on the Graduate Hotel.
Oh, White Limousine rooftop bar. That's it.
Yeah, but they have like brunch and stuff. I've never been, but it's cute. I know, Robin. I wish I could be sharing my screen right now, but I'm trying to the pictures are so fun.
I'll go look at it.
Are you a Dolly Parton fan, Robin?
I'm not yes, I love Dolly Parton, but I'm not wild about, I would go just to see it, but yeah, no, I do want to go to Dollywood, but besides that, Hard Candy Christmas is probably one of my favorite Dolly songs.
I have to look that up. Hard Candy, I'm writing it down.
I'm not
Hard Candy Christmas.
Dolly.
And I'm not a sappy person. I don't know if you've listened to any of our podcasts or the personality one, but there is no sappiness, feelings, crying coming out of this one. But I love that song.
Sometimes we all need a little bit of Robin in us. So I'm like,
just gotta get it done.
I feel all the feelings.
Wait,
It is no feeling.
how do you two know each other?
Okay, so this
This is a great segue.
this is a
Oh,
great
good.
segue.
Wait, by the way, we already started recording because we normally just like jump in. So,
Oh, that's fine. Oh, I didn't know, but I'm good. Let's roll. I'm in.
Yeah.
yes, perfect.
So Ashley's ex-fiance did 29029 in 2018. No, 19. Sorry. 2019, and he did Utah. So at the time it was only the one Utah. They didn't have Utah 1 and 2. Well, and he has a stock trading group, and so I was a member of that, and my mom was too. And I thought, oh, how interesting. I've never heard of this, because he would talk about all of these runs that he went on and his training. And so I would say, what are you and Jeremy doing? And Ashley would say, oh, he's out training, or oh, he's out running stairs, or oh, he's out with his buddies, all night long doing whatever. Well, then I realized when he told me about this 29029, and I thought, what on earth is he doing? So I followed the website that year and followed the progression of the ascents. Didn't think too much of it. And then this year, the same thing happened with 2021. This year, though, he did Idaho with one of his buddies in the stock trading group. And so, of course, I followed them. So I thought, gosh, where do these people get their energy? And on previous podcasts, Ashley and I have talked about some people get demotivated by this is the glamorous life, or let's just post the best of everything on Instagram. And I get incredibly motivated by people who are on Instagram, and it gets me excited, and I get outside and I work out. And so nonetheless, fast forward to Idaho, where I see Julie Stackhouse is running up the ascent ladder, and I'm thinking, I'm going to go see if she's on Instagram. Sure enough, she was on Instagram, and so I followed her story. So inspirational. And for our listeners, she will be on for November 1st podcast.
Oh, I got to listen to that.
Yeah, Julie Stackhouse will be on the November 1st drop. Well, then we get to Utah number 1, and I start following people who have posted on Instagram just to see who they are. And you were one of them who was climbing the ascent ladder. And I thought, it's just so fun to watch the progression, the hours tick by, and then what people say on their Instagram about either they're really energized, they're exhausted, they want the honey packets. So Mud Runner chick, she did Utah number 2. She wanted all the honey packets. Julie Stackhouse ate a whole bunch of Uncrustables on each ascent, or coming down from the gondola. So it's just been a journey. And more as I follow these people on Instagram, it's just, I could not be any more inspired. So now fast forward to, I'm doing an iFit program, and here's this John Pease guy. I truly think nothing of it. Somehow I was going through 29029, and here it says, oh, John Pease just ascended 13 ascents. So it must have been Utah 2 probably. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, could that possibly be the same John Pease that I'm following on iFit? Sure enough, there he is. And then John Peel, my apologies. John Peel also is an iFit trainer, and you follow the exercise program along with John or Sally McRae, who she just won the Backwater Marathon.
She won the Badwater.
Badwater, yep. Badwater.
Oh, that's one that I want to do before I die for sure.
We'll talk about that. And then lo and behold, Brent Pease is one of the coaches for 29029. Yep. So I follow him. What do I find? He's posting a couple days before Ironman Wisconsin that he has a couple of athletes. So what do? I go follow the athletes. And as I was volunteering on Sunday at Wisconsin Ironman, I see 2 of he's coaching them. So I see 2 of his athletes, And I was like, oh, Matt Jackson. And he just kind of looked at me, because who would think that somebody would know him? And then Dan, I think his name's Dan Harris, he was there too. And I was like, oh my gosh, Dan Harris. And he looked at me and I said, I know Brent. And he's like, hey. So it's just been a crazy way that I have been connecting with people just by being inspired and following on Instagram. So today we have Matt Scoletti.
That is really cool, that because we're so similar. That's the same thing. I'll look at an event and see the names and then go look them up on Instagram. And a lot of times it's a great story, and I'll reach out and do the same thing just because I want to have inspiring people in my feed and in my circle. So I love that you do that, because I definitely do similar stuff.
Well, let's talk about you, because wow. I knew that you were pretty impressive, but holy cow, a 2-time world record holder, a 5-time Mr. Physique. I don't know what the real title is, but I'm going to call you Mr. Physique. You have Udemy courses. You're a motivational speaker. You are a health and fitness coach. What else is there that I am I'm missing a couple
You're
other
plant-based, which is cool.
Plant-based, and a podcaster.
God,
That's all true. Yeah. You know what? The only thing you're missing is something embarrassing, but I'll tell you, I was filming I think it was for a Udemy course like 6 years ago. I was filming a video on how to use resistance bands, and the band, I was standing on it, band slipped off my foot and smacked me right in the side of the face. And I ended up on America's Funniest Home Videos for that video. So that's a little piece of, I think that was in 2015, maybe. It was a while back, but they flew me out to California, and it was awesome. It was a fun experience.
I'm missing 2 others, American Ninja Warrior and 29029 Everesting finalist.
That's right.
I don't even know where to start. I want to know all the stories about all of them. I don't even know where to begin.
I will. I'm an open book, so you can ask me about whatever you want to hear about.
Well, we both did research, and we know that you hit rock bottom and changed your life October 30th of 2011.
Yeah, you did great research.
I do research.
I'm impressed. Very impressed.
Oh, at researching.
So tell us about what was your rock bottom and then turning your life around, because I believe that I did listen to part of another podcast that you were on, that you started the physique.
Yeah, you were right about all that. The physique part of the journey was what helped me get out of the rock bottom. And it was, so I went to college in 2002. I'm 38 years old now, and went to Richmond down in Virginia. And I got into the party scene, and I started meeting people that were partiers. I think part of the problem was I enjoyed going out into the wee hours. It was something I never did in high school. And I guess the floodgates kind of opened up for me. And I think, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that go to college and party for 1 year, 2 year, 4 years, but I could not get out of, I always assumed when I graduated, then it's going to be the real world and I'll stop drinking and all that stuff. And I couldn't get out of that vicious cycle that I was in. And even after I graduated, I moved to Boston for 2 years and took a job up there. And it was still Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, and sometimes Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, where I would be consuming more than 2 or 3 alcoholic beverages. So fast forward to October 30th, I think you were exactly right, 2011. So this is a decade into sort of my downfall and my horrible relationship with alcohol. And I did what I had done many times before, which was embarrassing, but I woke up on the floor of my living room in this house that I had, this small 2-bedroom house in the south side of Pittsburgh. And it was a Sunday, I think it was a Sunday morning, and I woke up and I felt horrible, which was the same as before. But I just started thinking about, what if I'm doing this 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Like if I'm in I think I was 28 at the time. If I'm 35 and I'm still doing this, what if I'm 40, 45, 50 and I'm still doing this? I projected out, and realized that the future didn't look good. And I'm sure I would not have been able to have a steady girlfriend or wife in my life. Like I would have never been able to start a family. I would have never had anything steady in my life if I kept this up. And that horrible looking future made me change the present and go, this has to stop. Like I don't have a choice anymore. And I have friends and family will say I have an addictive personality. So I'll go all in on something or all out. So it was like, I have to cut this off. I was not capable of having 1 or 2 drinks while being social. It had to be 5 to 10 or worse. So I had to cut it off cold turkey. And almost at the same time, I met a guy that was in the physique. It's like the bodybuilding world, but we don't wear the little Speedos. We wear board shorts. So it's a little bit different, not quite as embarrassing. And luckily, his name is Ali. We're still in touch to this day. Luckily, I met him in the gym, and he sort of started training me through with the exercises and the lifting weights and helped with the diet. And I met a guy that's a nutritionist. His name's Chris Johnson, still in touch with him. I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago on the phone. And I just started meeting these people that were in the healthy living space and sort of started distancing myself with people that were in the partying world. And I think I'm a huge believer in the quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I went from spending time with people that stayed up till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, which is what I was doing, to people that were getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym and eating healthy. And it created a huge shift that I'm blessed to say 10 years later, it's still going strong.
That's fantastic. Is that how you also got into American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, it is. So there, and I'm sure you've seen the show. I love watching that show, and they like the inspiring stories, and I love how they show the backstory of a lot of people, and I think it was that part of the story as far as the alcoholic turned into fitness champion, so to speak, that they ran with. And I was also very, as I said, I'm from Pittsburgh, so I'm a huge Steelers, like anything Pittsburgh fan. So I played up this like huge Pittsburgh fan in me, and I was pretty obnoxious on the show, but I guess it's entertainment. It's entertainment. So they ran with that side of it. But yeah, they seemed like that part of the story was a big reason why they put me on the show.
And then your journey from that to world record holder of lifting, what was 1 million pounds in 9 hours, something like that?
What?
Yes. Yeah. So this is funny because
I comprehend this.
I know.
I'll tell you a quick story about that because this is actually pretty funny. I think the first one was in it was either the end of 2016 or early 2017. Robin, you probably know better than me. You know more about me than I do. I think it was the end of 2016. And so in order to get this world record, there was only 4 exercises you could do. I got to see if I can remember now. It was a bench press machine. It was a shoulder press. It was like a lat pull down and then a low row. And the funny part about this is I did 50 pounds on all of them, and you could do whatever order you wanted. You could do however much weight you wanted, but it was whatever the time was. And I had to have a guy there monitoring what I did and everything, which I felt bad for him because he's there for like 9.5 hours. But as this progressed, I wasn't sure the whole time if I was going to do it. I think the previous record was it was just under 10 hours. So I was I was on pace most of the time, but my forearms started giving out like halfway through it. And I had never gone further than halfway through it. So I didn't know how my body was going to react. And by the end of it, I could only do one of the 4 exercises because my grip strength, I had 0 grip strength. And the funny part of the story is I was blessed to be able to complete this. And we were celebrating. I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning in the gym when it was over, because you just go straight through. And my wife and I were going to Denver for the first time like that following weekend. And we checked into the hotel, and I couldn't physically open the door to the hotel room because my forearm was so shot. And my wife came up the stairs, and I'm standing there holding the bags, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, I can't get the door open. Like I can't. So I had to see a chiropractor and do all that stuff, but there was no major injuries, but it was just kind of funny that I had zero grip strength for about a month afterwards. So the recovery was a little more intense than I thought.
I've never even heard of. So I know you mentioned you like follow a lot of maybe influencers or just people who inspire you. Where do you find these things? Like I've never heard of a contest like that or a world record. Because how do you?
You know what? That's a great question. And I am going to feel bad that I'm going to blank on this guy's name, but there's a guy, I think he's from England. I think he's in his 50s now. Oh, it's going to kill me. I can't think of his name. But I think he set the most world records of anybody in the world. And I saw an article or something about him. I think his name's, I want to say Patrick, but I don't think that's right. But it was the same thing that you're both talking about. I read about this guy and I looked him up. He had a website and I sent him an email and I'm like, what do you think here? You know, I said how much I appreciated all he's done. I think he has like 20 some world records. It's something ridiculous. And so we started emailing back and forth and he's like, well, tell me what you do. Like, what do you enjoy doing? And maybe we can find a way that you can try to attack one of these world records. So I started telling him, like, I love being in the gym, lift the weights, etc. And he came up with what the world record was and said, why don't you go after this? So he basically coached me from the UK, from England, for like 6 to 8 months to get me prepared for it. So it was the same thing. It's so funny. It's the same thing as reaching out on Instagram of somebody you're inspired by. Same thing with this guy. I was just lucky that he was able to mentor me through the next 8+ months.
That's just crazy. Your wife must have thought, what's going on with my husband?
You know what? Luckily before it was about a year before we met, I started getting pretty intense into the physical fitness world. So she knew what she was getting into. I think I don't know that she knew how far I wanted to keep taking it. And I want to keep going. I mean, at 38, I feel like I'm 23 and I want to keep pushing and trying to accomplish new and different things. So hopefully I got a few more decades in me, but I guess we'll see.
I think so. 38 is so young still. Like that is so young. You have plenty of time. So when did 29029 come into this? Is this before, this is after, or what year are we talking?
No, that was the most recent thing I did. So 29029 was just a month ago in Utah. And it's funny because this just happened. So I'll see if I can make a long story short. So August of 2020, we'll go back before that. I signed up for 29029 in, I think, the end of 2018, early 2019, and it was supposed to happen in August of 2020. COVID hit and it kept getting postponed. So ended up having it happening in August of 2021. So in August of 2020, I decide with a couple friends, we're going to do this miles challenge to raise money for young adults who are battling cancer here in Pittsburgh. So basically it was anybody that donated $10, I would run a mile. So they donate $100, I'm going to go run 10 miles. And what I didn't realize was there was a lot of people donating a lot of money. So I ended up running basically the equivalent of 21 marathons in 21 days. It was like 550 miles in 21 days. And this is where the injury takes place. I injured my Achilles pretty bad.
Oh no.
Doing that. Yeah. And it's anybody listening or watching that has an Achilles injury. I've had a few people reach out to me because I've been pretty active on social media talking about this Achilles injury. Don't take it lightly. It's a slow healing injury. So if you're feeling any pain there, I would suggest to anybody to go get it looked at, because I did not do that. And I think I suffered because of that. So it's still, I have rock tape on it right now as I'm standing here. So it's still recovering, but,
wow.
29029, I almost wasn't going to do it because of the Achilles injury, even though that was a year later. So, I did a lot of hiking and training and preparing, and the Achilles felt good. So yeah, a month ago, I think it was August 20 something like that, 19, 20th.
19.
We
A month ago. Yeah, that's like
yeah, it just happened, and it was one of the greatest experiences. I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but I'll talk about it in as much detail as you both want.
I mean,
I would love to know more about the training and the nutrition. Ashley and I, part of our New Year's resolution was to both get healthier, to stop wasting food, getting more creative on, okay, the fruits are starting to go bad or the vegetables are starting to go bad. How do we, use them up in a healthy way? So we're all about nutrition, plant-based. I do eat quite a bit of meat, but I am trying to go a little bit more Mediterranean, vegetables, fruits. Ashley has always been healthy ever since I've known her. So
but I still want I want to learn. I haven't done the whole plant-based thing yet. There were times where I did it. And I think it takes a little. My brother and his girlfriend are both vegan. And so and they have been for, I don't even know how many years. His girlfriend's been, I think she's been a vegan since she was like 15. She's been a vegan for a really
Oh,
long
wow.
time. I think he's like 4 years in. And so, yeah, I would love to learn a little bit more about just how you balance that. And I think a lot of people, what is that Netflix documentary that came out?
Oh, yeah.
Game Changers.
Oh, what'd you call it?
What was it called? Game Changers or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That we actually saw that in the theater. I think it was only in the theater for like a few weeks,
Really?
but we saw that in the theater, and it is a powerful that. And then there's one called Food Inc. And there's
Yep.
another one. Oh, I think we even have the DVD, and I'm blanking on it.
There's one about sugar, carbs, or sugar, salt, and something. Yeah, they're
Oh,
all.
yeah.
Yes, I've seen
Yeah.
all.
Because I
Oh,
think
yeah. So, yeah. And no, that's what, and for myself, and I think my wife too, watching those and diving more into the research was the reason that we decided to go basically 100% plant-based. And I should say, I'm trying to think of an example. Like if we're on vacation and we're basically vegan, but we were just on vacation in Hilton Head with my wife's family about a month, or no, I guess 2 months ago now. And we went out to a restaurant, and I got a piece of fish just because it was fresh fish and I was kind of excited. And so I'm probably a little more, I don't want to say lax, but if we're away and there's something special, or if you're immersed into a culture and their culture is to eat a certain food, I'm probably going to try it. But yeah, we're plant-based just because of all the research coming out. And it just seems like,
yeah,
that's the healthiest way to go. And my wife being in the cancer space, she knows about the processed meats and the carcinogens involved and all. It just seems like that research is getting further and further along where there's a correlation there. And we're just trying to be as healthy as we can. But I actually I gave a speech this morning kind of about this, which was, I'm a believer, if you're watching or listening to this and you don't eat a lot of healthy meals, to pick one meal a day, and for a week or two, just let's say you pick breakfast and go, okay, I'm going to eat a healthy breakfast every day this week. Don't worry about lunch and dinner, and then start there, and then start with the breakfast, get that down for a month or two, and then tack on lunch and then work on dinner. Because I tried to change everything at once in 2011. And it imploded on me because I think it was just too much change too quick. And I ended up revolting against myself, which wasn't a great thing. But then I was coached by this guy, Chris Johnson, to say, okay, start slow and don't try to change 47 things at once, because that normally doesn't pan out too well.
How has the adjustment been to, because I mean, when a normal person eats, however many calories. I mean, you're running 21 marathons and 21, you clearly have to have a huge calorie intake because you're just burning it constantly. How has the adjustment been to that? Because I'm assuming, do you prep for things that you're going to be exerting a lot of calories, or what does a normal day look? Is it still very similar?
Yeah, so that was funny because I think I lost about 12 pounds over the course of that 3 weeks, which I didn't really want to do that. It was just so hard to keep up with the amount of calories burned. But that's a great question, because I'm learning that now too, because I'm training for an Ironman, my first Ironman, which is October 2nd. It's coming up, and it's the same thing. Like on a Saturday, I may go out for a 100-mile bike ride and then swim for an hour and a half and then try to run for 5 miles. And it's like, you can't, I don't know how many calories that is, but there is a slope of my weight will slowly drop. And then after the Ironman, it'll probably go up 5 or 10 pounds. But I think that is a huge part of it, is especially if you're exerting yourself in longer distances, if you don't replenish that nutrition, you're in trouble. And we saw it at 29.029. I felt really bad for people that it was cooler in the morning. So, and I think this all correlates. So I think people were thinking, it's cold, I'm not sweating a whole lot, so I don't have to drink a ton of water. But you're still, with the calories you're burning, you're still going to get dehydrated if you don't drink water while you're exerting yourself. So a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but we probably saw at least 10 or 15 get removed from the course because of dehydration. So I think, that's nutrition and proper hydration, especially if you're running or doing further distances. That's huge. And here's a funny story. I had not had ramen noodles since I was in college in 2005. And they had them there, and not to get too graphic, but it was probably 2:00 in the morning. And you're kind of like starting to lose it mentally, but I just wanted to push straight through the night. And I couldn't get the honey down. I couldn't get the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, they just didn't, I had no appetite for them. But ramen noodles, for whatever crazy reason, it gave me the sodium, which I was looking for. I was happy about that. And it felt like I was eating like the best steak and eggs ever. It felt like just a gourmet meal as I'm downing this ramen. And I think it really saved me. I gave credit to the woman that was running the aid station, because she suggested it. And I guess you got to, when you're doing an extreme event, you just have to figure out ways to get nutrition and calories back in you and replenish.
I was really surprised. I was expecting to see Colin O'Brady bars, the possible bars.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, because that's what he took with him on his expedition. And I'm thinking, how come 29029? He's one of three co-founders. And I'm thinking, where are all of Colin O'Brady's bars? Like, hook me up. So I was surprised.
That's a good point.
I was surprised that they weren't there.
That's a really good point. And sidebar, I think you should get him on the podcast, because that's a crazy impressive and crazy humble guy. I mean, I must have talked to him for 15 minutes like we were old college buddies, and he didn't know me from anything. So, I mean, he's what a great human being right there.
I have tried over and over and over again to get Colin O'Brady. I'll keep trying. I won't quit.
Keep trying.
He will not stop. He will not stop until he's on the podcast.
He would be good.
You can see him when you do 29029, Robin. That's when
I'm going to tell him. Like, you're coming on the podcast.
I see him in person.
You should. Oh yeah, if you see him in person, are you going to go to an event? Did you set one up?
I am. I will officially announce that when the sign up comes up for 2022, I will be signing up for Utah.
Yes, I'm so excited. You have to tell me. I don't know if they're going to have 1 and 2 again next year, but I'm coming out. I'm volunteering at Vermont next month. So I'm definitely, I will come back out to Utah and see you crush the mountain. I'm excited.
I will crush the mountain. So talk about your Achilles, because you did talk about that, especially on, I believe it was one of your first posts from 29029 about you had just ascended the first ascent. And for those listeners who don't know what I keep talking about, 29029 is the vertical feet of Mount Everest. And Colin O'Brady, Jesse Itzler, and Mark Hudalik, I probably butchered his name, are 3 of the co-founders of 29029. And what they do is they rent a mountain, and you make as many ascents up that mountain. So Idaho was 15, Utah is 13, and I believe Vermont is 17. Yes, I have stalked the 29029 Everesting pages over and over again. And so what you do is you ascend up, and then you take a gondola ride down, and you do that as many times as the mountain that you're on. So at the end, you will have ascended the vertical feet of Mount Everest. Well, what I find interesting is each mountain has a certain base level of altitude. So Idaho, I don't remember what Idaho is. I should know these all by memory.
No, this is I never even thought about this. This is interesting. Yeah, keep going because I don't know either.
But Utah starts at, I believe it's 6,200 feet above sea level. And then you ascend up to 8,000 for Utah. So you're getting 2,122 vertical feet on each ascent. And you do that. So really what it comes out to is Idaho, you needed to walk, I believe it was, or hike, ascent 25 miles. Utah's 30 miles. And then Vermont, I think, is 20. It's right around the 25. And I had asked Jeremy and Robert, who did Idaho, I said, yeah, but in Utah, you have to do 5 more miles. And they both laughed at me because they're like, at that point, you don't even know what 5 more miles is. So they said, don't worry about it. You know, Jeremy thought that Utah would be a better fit for me. So when we're talking about ascents, that's what we mean is one ascent is, for Utah, for example, is 2,000 vertical feet. And it's 2.3 miles. So each ascent, you're cranking up there. And I've looked at pictures. I just asked Dawn Fletcher, who is also one of the coaches that helps people get up the mountain. I follow her on Instagram, and I said, what do you think the grade is for Utah? Like, are we talking a 10% grade, a 20% grade, 40% grade for training? Because training, I would love to talk about that too. And nobody will be surprised to know that I've already been in contact with Matt Burrell, 29029 Everesting, to talk to him too about a middle-aged, overweight, excited to get into shape. I've been exercising all my life, but mostly just walking, no jogging, no anything. So the training is super interesting. How did you do that with your Achilles injury?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And somebody just asked me this when we were at the event. I wouldn't suggest anyone else do this, but I didn't really have a choice. I was solely focused on things that I could do that I knew would not make the Achilles worse. So I did, and this is kind of like counterintuitive, but I did a lot of swimming and biking only because I knew that the Achilles was not going to be bothered doing those two things. But I also did a lot of hiking up a hill, and actually the Achilles, for whatever reason, it was almost like it was stretching it when I was going up. So there wasn't really any pain there, but coming down, it was worse. So thank God, 29029, you only need to go up and they don't make you come back down the mountain. Cause I really don't think I would have been able to do it if you had to come back down as well. But I think just slowly ramping up the amount of hiking that you're doing while working on the nutrition and the mindset. I mean, I think the mindset is probably the most important part. And just the people that we talk to that struggled a little bit more, I think were focusing on their second or third ascent. They were thinking, oh my God, I have to do this 10 more times. There's no way I'm going to be able to do it. Versus, we kept saying this to everybody, including ourselves, which was one step at a time. Like if you just focus on taking the next step, you're eventually going to get to the top 13 times. So I think if you can keep it like in this small little, just get to the next flag, get to the next aid station, and then don't worry about anything else. I think those people seem like they didn't get too overwhelmed doing the ascents. But I mean, and the other thing is the community. To me, I've been blessed to see like Tough Mudder community and Spartan communities and marathon communities, and I think they're all amazing in different ways. But this one, it was the most encouraging, upbeat group of people. And it didn't matter if it was 5 p.m. or, and this is not an exaggeration, 3 o'clock in the morning, there's volunteers and people there the whole 36 hours. So you have 36 hours to do the whole thing. and it's nonstop high energy. You're talking to other people as you're going up. I'm a believer that, because some people had headphones on, I think you kind of, I didn't think you got the full experience if you had headphones on, because then you couldn't talk to other people and ask them how they're doing and interact with the volunteers. So
Yeah.
I think the community is incredible, and that's going to be a big reason why myself and you and a lot of others are going to get to the top 13 times.
Yeah. I'll get back to my point before about the hydration. We were talking about, so I was talking about altitude. That was
Oh,
another
yeah.
thing too, is when you were talking about people were dehydrated, not only they do, I live in Wisconsin, so it's cold most of the year, but you do get used to, I don't need to drink because it's cold and I'm not sweating, but you're also at altitude. And I did hear that some people did get altitude sickness, and hydration is super important. I do have one more nutrition question to ask. Do
Hit
you
me
do,
with it.
you do supplements? Do you do collagen? Do you do casein? Do you do what kind of protein rebuilding? How do you do all that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm not a huge believer in, I shouldn't say that. I don't use a ton of supplements, but the one thing that, I guess the few things are, so after I lift weights, I normally have a plant-based protein in some sort of smoothie, or I'll mix it with, my favorite thing to do is get a bowl and I'll put vanilla plant protein in. I'll put raisins in, oats in there, cinnamon, almond milk, and honey. And I just mix it around and I throw it in the freezer for like 25 minutes.
Ooh.
And I eat it. I eat this almost every single morning after I work out. And it's high in calories, which I need to replenish, high in protein, and I absolutely love it. But outside of that, I take a vitamin D, and D as in dog and B as in boy supplement, because a lot of nutritionists say if you're plant-based or vegan, you can be deficient in those two. And the only other thing is, and this is more of a, I guess, a spice you'd call it, but I'm a big turmeric fan for anti-inflammatory reasons. And I can say this, the one thing that I noticed, because I get asked, even like my family will ask me this, what have you noticed the most with the plant-based diet? And I think recovery from, I mean, being 38 years old, I appreciate what you're saying, Ashley, that I'm still a young pup, which I think I am, but I'm also not 19. So it takes a little bit longer for me to recover, and that's going to continue as I get older. But I think the plant-based diet, supplemented with a lot of water drinking and hydration, has helped me do these a little more extreme fitness activities and then recover quicker. So I think it's a very anti-inflammatory diet. And I think that's a big help when you're trying to level up with different fitness or nutrition.
I mean, you said your wife was in cancer something or other. What did she do?
Yeah, she runs her own charity for young adults who are battling cancer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was about to say, since she's in that space, they say that like most of these cancers and stuff, doesn't it like very, inflammation is like a big deal on a lot of illnesses in general. We put so much in our body that's very inflaming.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, and that's, and it's like the more that you read about it at the time, I mean, this is a few years ago, I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I'm eating healthy, and some of this stuff is that I'm trying to think of an example, but yeah, there's a lot of foods that you can get in the grocery store that seem like they're healthy, but they're not. They are inflammatory. So it kind of works the opposite way. But yeah, I think that diet and nutrition, no matter your age, but especially as you get into your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, I think it's crucial to recover a lot quicker and have more energy. I mean, I do feel like I'm 23. Actually, I feel better than when I was 23 because I was destroying my body when I was 23 years old. So yeah, it's fun to like feel younger as you get older. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah. Well, shout out to your wife for being awesome and doing great things for the world. So
Yes.
I appreciate that. She is the true hero of the two of us. That is for sure. I would never argue that. She's a survivor herself. She got diagnosed with leukemia when she was 19. So that's why she started this, because she dealt with it and she saw the need for, young adults that, they're kind of underserved in her opinion. So she's
Yeah.
helping that 18 to 39-year-old group. Yeah, she's awesome.
That's
So
great.
what's the next challenge for you? You had mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, the next challenge is an Ironman, my first Ironman triathlon on October the 2nd, which is, it's a 2.4 mile swim followed by a 112-mile bike ride, and then followed by, you have to run a full marathon after that. So you have 17 hours to complete that. I've been successful in some of the triathlons that I've done in the last few months. The run is going slow because of the Achilles, but it seems to be holding up okay. But knock on wood, I'll be able to give you both some good news in, what is that? It's like 3 weeks, I think. We're getting close.
Did I miss it? Did
October
you say
2nd.
where it is?
No, I don't think I said it's out in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. It's a town called Muncie, Indiana, which I don't even know where that is. I got to look it up, but I think it's just,
Is
you
it
know that?
No, the only reason I know Muncie isn't that's where Jerry/Gary is from in The Office, where they always make fun of him.
Wow.
Isn't that where they always make fun of him from being from Muncie?
Oh, from the show The Office. Oh, I need to look that up.
Yeah, so I mean that's obviously in Scranton, Ohio, but Jerry/Gary, the one they always make fun of, he's from Muncie, Indiana, and that's the only reason I know.
And you don't even watch TV, Ashley.
I watch The Office.
Like the
Why do I
only
love The
show
Office.
that
I know that. That's such a random fact. He's a fictional character, and I know where he lives. I don't know.
And
You know
Ashley
what?
is not a TV person. She likes to be out and about doing things. So for you to know a TV show cracks me up.
That is funny. Of course, I'm a huge Office fan
Yeah.
myself. I mean, that show is, it's just,
It's
having
such,
worked in an office, it just rings true. A lot of the humor in there is pretty entertaining.
like I always liked it. This is a tangent, but yeah, I always liked it. And then when I worked briefly, in an office setting, everything just got 10 times funnier.
Yes.
Yep, I can relate.
Oh yeah. Hey, we go anywhere on this podcast, right? We can go a bunch of different directions.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes. I have the Ironman app, so I will follow you in Indiana. I will get real-time updates every time you hit the tracker.
Those are so cool.
Wow,
Yeah.
this is so embarrassing. I didn't even know that existed, because my family's going to want to know that, and some friends are going to want to know that. I will get that.
Yes, I will give you all the information that you need for the Ironman tracker. And luckily, as I was setting up one of the run aid stations, somebody walked by and asked me a question, and she said, "Oh, my person just started blah blah," or they had just finished the swim and they were getting on their bike. And I said, "How on earth do you know that? You're not even close to the transition area." She said, "It's on the app." I said, "What app?" She said, "I'm going to set you up." I said, "Please do." So she showed me all this stuff on the Ironman tracker. And then I loaded all of Brent Pease's people in. And then my friend Christina is an Ironman finisher, the full. And then another one of my friends, he was training Derek, and Derek finished too. And I got to talk to him on the course too. So yes, I will fill you in on how to get the Ironman tracker. So that's cool. Super
Please
cool.
do. That's exciting. I'm going to get that as soon as we're done. I'm glad you said something.
Yes. So yeah, so they will get real-time updates every time the chip hits one of the I don't know what it's called, but
Yeah, like the checkpoint things, like
checkpoints.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
good to know.
Last but not least, let's talk about your podcast. I love it.
Livin the Dream podcast. Yeah, and we're gonna flip this around. This is gonna be fun, because I'm gonna bring you two on, and then I get to ask the questions, which will be a lot of fun for me. But yeah, I started the podcast, I think, end of 2018, and it's so weird to me how the world works. I was in an event. Do you know who Lewis Howes is? He runs a huge podcast called Summit of Greatness, or no, not Summit of Greatness, School of Greatness.
School of Great.
Yes.
Yeah, School of
On
Greatness.
YouTube. Yep.
Yeah. So I went to his event, and he was so accessible. It was crazy. I mean, we all got a chance to spend like 5-10 minutes with him. But I met a woman there as I was thinking about starting a podcast who already ran one, and she connected me with the woman that she worked with, and her name's Amanda. So Amanda is the reason that this all happened. I mean, I connected with her. She helps me put out the episodes on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And yeah, it's just been a combination of, it's a combination of healthy living, diet, nutrition, and inspiration. And I've brought on a lot of guests. I actually used, and Robin, you're going to appreciate this. You're both going to appreciate this. When COVID hit, this is probably April, May-ish of 2020. I remember having dinner with my wife, and I told her I hadn't interviewed anybody for the podcast yet. It was just me up until that point. And I thought, I want to start interviewing people. And I said to my wife, it's COVID. Most people are home. This has got to be the best time for me to be getting people onto the podcast, because what else are they going to do? Why wouldn't they hop on? So I started, like, bigger name people. I would send them direct messages on Instagram, and I'd probably send 100 a day, and maybe 2 would respond. But the 2 that would respond would say, you know, let's set up a time and let's do it. So I've been very blessed. I think I had 5 Olympic athletes on there, I think 4 of which were gold medalists, and just a lot of business people and just hardcore endurance athletes. It's been a wide variety of people, which yours has as well, which makes it so fun. But yeah, the podcast life is a fun life. I enjoy every single episode.
Yeah, Ashley and I are always amazed. Everybody has a story. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you came from. Everybody has an amazing story. We interviewed Martin, who is over,
He's in
is he in the UK? Czech Republic?
He's from the Czech Republic originally, but yeah, in the UK.
In the UK, we've had multimillionaires on the podcast. We've had the world's woman leading forensic scientist on the podcast. Everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, everybody has an amazing story to tell. And that's why Ashley and I love doing this. When we started looking up, when I was talking to you on Instagram and then talking about, hey, would you like to come on the podcast? I had no idea how successful you were. When I asked Julie Stackhouse to come on the podcast, I knew that she was a runner. I knew she was a Brooks ambassador, but I had no idea how talented she is. And then I listened to another podcast of somebody else who had done 29029, I think Utah 2, number 2. And I'm thinking, holy cow, these people who are doing 29029 are the most amazing, successful people out there. So I'm just like, but everybody, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're an Olympian. It doesn't matter if you're Robin, who's 52 and overweight, getting out there and getting it done. It doesn't matter. Just do it.
I'm so excited, and I agree with everything you just said. You get out there, and you can start wherever you are. I brought this up in the speech this morning. I interviewed a woman named Sue. This is about a year ago. I think she was 64 at the time. She could not walk from her house to her to get the mail without being out of breath. She's now 3 years later. She is one of the best women triathletes in her age group, which I think is 60 to 70 in the world. She's on the USA triathlon team in her age group, and she's one of the best. So I think throw age out the window. Like, that doesn't matter. It's just, how bad do you want it, and what changes are you willing to make? So there was a guy I don't know if you saw this, Robin, there was a guy at 29029 Utah 1 who's 79 years old, and he did, I think he did 11 ascents. So he didn't quite get to what his goal was, but we were all blown away. Like, I think 11 ascents at 79 years old, that's probably the most astounding story that I heard. I mean, there's some great stories.
How many ascents was that? He probably could finish it. Isn't there a time limit?
He ran out of time. He could have definitely, he would have definitely done it. He could have definitely done 2 more. Like, his energy level could have done it. Yeah, if the event was 42 hours instead of 36, I think he would have done it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you're going to knock it out, Robin. This is going to be fun to, yeah.
You can volunteer. I'm going to have to look into that, because I told Robin, I was like, when you do it, I'm going to be there, but that'd be fun to be a part of.
Well, you know what? Ashley, if you're thinking about it, you do not have to have done the event to volunteer at the event.
Okay.
So you can, I thought you had to, but you don't. So you could definitely be out there if you want to be. We're all going to be celebrating. I'm excited.
Yeah, it gets.
Yeah,
I have
Pam
to
wants to
try it.
volunteer too. I did a 9-mile walk the other day, and I've been, well, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, relatively recent. And it was funny because my husband and I were just cashed out on the couch in the recliner. And I said, honey, it's 11:15 in the morning. I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday. I said, and we don't, I mean, that's very rare for us. We do not do that. And I said, it's time to get up and get something done. And he said, oh, I've got this and this to do. And I said, well, I'm going to go for a walk. Well, I ended up doing 9 miles. And I remember Jesse Itzler saying, chip, 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 just chip away one foot in front of the other, chip, chip, chip. So I've been using when I feel like I'm kind of tired now. It's like, nope, just keep going a little bit longer, and then you just keep. That's how you do it. I think that is how you do it. It's baby steps.
I totally agree. And he's a big reason why I was able to do my first and only 100-mile ultra marathon. And the way that I was describing it was, and this is because of him, it's not running 100 miles, it's running 1 mile 100 times. So if he was just telling me to just stay on that mile, whether it's mile 2 or 91, it doesn't matter. Just focus on finishing that mile. So yeah, I think that's a huge takeaway. And as long as you can do that when you're out there in Utah in 2022, I think you're gonna crush it. I think you're gonna feel better. Will you be 53 at the time next August?
Yes, I will be 53. Yep.
You're gonna feel better at 53 than you did at 35. Like it's gonna be the best. It's
Yep.
gonna be 9 mile. You're doing a 9-mile walk and you have like 10 months to train. I'm extremely optimistic, Robin. I think you're gonna crush it.
I am going to crush it. I'm getting there. Yes, I do feel better now than I ever did, even when I was in high school, for goodness sake. So
Oh, that's beautiful. And you've already won.
I think I already have one.
Say you send me texts sometimes. You're like, how what grade do you think this is?
I have done so much research on grade.
20%.
Are you out there with like, what is that, a protractor or whatever the thing is, trying to figure it out?
It's rise over run, actually, is the mathematical
Wow.
formula.
I've never used that.
I don't think I've heard that since 2001. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's overrun. I love it.
Because the treadmills that we have here in Wisconsin is pretty flat, and we're only at 800, and 53 feet above sea level. So the only way that I can get any real elevation is either the Stairmaster or the treadmill, and our treadmills here only go up to 15%. Of course, I want, the iFit Nordic Track 32i, which I'm not going to be getting, but that's the one that I want with iFit. And iFit did just take over the 29029 Everesting from Jesse, Colin, and Mark. So I'm always trying to figure out what is the grade. And now I'm thinking maybe I just walk 15% most of the time, maybe come down to 10 for a couple miles and then just go back to 15, because I don't know what the grade is.
That's exactly what I did for the majority of it. If I was not outside, I had the treadmill on 10 ours maxes out at 15 as well. And I don't want to speak for, I don't know the exact Utah, what the grade is, but I can still remember there's like 2 or 3 sections that it is steeper, and it's considerably steeper, but I would say 80 to 90% of it is not going to go much over 15% grade. But then there's one area after the second aid station, we were all joking around because it is like, it's not that far. It's probably only 100 yards, but it is like it's pretty steep. But that's a one-off. Like most of it, I would think if you're cranking along at a 15-degree incline on the treadmill, that's pretty good training right there.
Okay. Well, that's good. And we want to wish you the best success with your training for Ironman. We will be following you. I will give you all the information on the Ironman tracker so that your family and friends can follow you.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And I have to say, I meant to say this in the beginning and I blew it, but the name of your podcast, of all the podcasts I've ever listened to, or including my own, that's the best name of any podcast I've ever heard. I can do anything podcast. It's incredible. Like it doesn't get any better than that.
Do you want to know how we got that name?
Yes, I would love to know the story.
I think this is a great way to end it.
It is a great
Good.
way to end it.
Oh, good.
Ashley
Hit me
and
with
I
it.
were, we really wanted to do a podcast. Ashley and I are really positive people. We're happy the vast majority of the time. We want to support people. We want to give people motivation to achieve their goals. We want to be there to help them. They can reach us on social media, on email, and on our webpage, but we couldn't come up with really what we wanted to talk about, and we couldn't come up with a name. So in 2019, when Jeremy did 29029 Everesting on Utah, he came up with our name of the podcast as he was at 29029 Everesting. So I think that's the other reason that now that enough time has gone by and I've really done some investigating and researching, the whole thing comes full circle with this whole podcast name and working with Ashley all got started around 29029 Everesting.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's a great story. So he said it first, and then you thought, this has to be the name of the podcast. That's perfect.
That's exactly how it happened. And Ashley came up with our logo and our colors, and we talked about it. And
I think part of why it stuck so much is because it's not just about like 29029. I mean, you can do incredible things with your body, but we talk to people who have moved to a different city by themselves, and like, you can do that. Or, starting a new job, you can do that. Like it can be you can literally do anything you want to do. So it just there's not a better name, it was perfect.
I love that. And that's so true. I mean, you're talking about the forensic scientists you had on. I mean, that's clearly such a different space, but I think that the principles probably apply in many different areas, whether it's fitness or moving or a new job or starting a business. I think it's so cool how diverse of people you interview. This has been a blast. I love everything about it.
I am so glad I took the opportunity to reach out and get out of my comfort zone and start reaching out to people. And the people who want to be on will be on, and the people that don't, that's fine too. It's okay. That's
it. You just, don't take it personally if they either say no or don't say anything, and you move on. Yeah.
Right. So
actually, I got to look you up, Ashley, because I don't think I follow you on social media or anything.
I'm not very plugged in on social media, to be honest. I got unplugged a couple of years ago. So. Oh,
okay.
But you're welcome to. I mean, I have an Instagram, but I'm not on Facebook or anything. So.
What's your Instagram? There we go. What is it?
It's Ashley.Ruth.Allen, and it's very small. Again, like, I'm not on social media. So.
What is it? ALLEN?
Yep.
I'll find you once we're done. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of social medias, before we go, is there any place that we can find, or we know obviously where you are, but where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is definitely where I'm most active, and it's just at my name, which is Matt, M-A-T-T, Scoletti, S-C-O-L-E-T-T-I. And if you listen to this or watch this and you liked it, I try to respond to every direct message I get. So hit me up and we can get a little discussion going.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you again for being on.
And we'll also post your podcast link too, so people can get to you on your podcast.
Yeah, let me know that, because I'll share it across my social stuff too. Yeah. Perfect. Let me know when that comes out for sure. Will you you'll just send that through Instagram, or you'll email me, or whatever's easiest?
Yeah, I'll get a hold of you.
Yeah, I know you will. You definitely will. And you have to make sure you keep telling me the things that I've done, because you know it better than I do. So I appreciate
I'll let you and your wife know what's on your agenda for the next month.
I have to say, I'm sure I'm not the only one. The research you do on your guests is flat out impressive right there. I mean, it just shows that you both care. I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here. To our listeners, stay awesome.
And keep reaching for your anything.
Bye, guys.
See you later.